God helps those who help themselves. To advance is to die. To retreat is to die, so better to advance and die. He that beats the drum for the madman to dance is no better than the madman himself. Where water is the boss, there the land must obey. You must eat the big rat and not count the forests from which it comes. The words of the elders do not lock all the doors, they leave the right door open. Compassion for a child comes from its mother. Even the best cooking pot will not produce food. Corn is never right against the hen. The river water does not return to its source. When the roots of a tree begin to decay, it spreads death to the branches. He who runs after good fortune runs away from peace. Teeth do not see poverty. A bird that flies off the earth and lands on an anthill is still on the ground. When you befriend a chief, remember that he sits on a rope. The capricious one spoils their own companies. If you carry the egg basket, do not dance. The night has ears. You must attend to your business with the vendor in the market and not to the noise of the market. An intelligent enemy is better than a stupid friend. A spider's cobweb isn't only its sleeping spring, but also its food trap. It takes a whole village to raise a child. The name is more important than the person because it travels everywhere. A mother's anger doesn't pass the night. The child you sired hasn't sired you. A doctor who invoked a storm on his people cannot prevent his house from destruction. Mystery arouses curiosity. What you give to others, you give to yourself. The birds feather flies in the air but ends up on the ground. Going directly to the river is better than skirting along the riverbank. A man without culture is like a zebra without stripes. The crocodile doesn't leave its lake to drink, the morning dew that falls on the leaves. Even the elephant can die from a spear thrust. The new rope is woven at the end of the old one. When you don't know where you're going, look back to where you come from. Life is like fire flame, smoke and ashes. The poor man is not the one whose hands are empty, but the one whose soul is empty of desires. Words eggs. Once they escaped, they cannot be taken back. Together one goes further. Do not be discouraged. It is often the last key in the bunch that opens the door. The death of an elderly man is like a burning library. Do a good deed and throw it into the sea. As long as lions do not have their own historian, the tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Life is like water in a canoe that goes from one side to the other. Living with a woman is like living with a wizard. If you see a small white gourd on the water and it's not cracked, it's broken at the opening. The drinker does not know the toil of the beer seller. If you do not have patience, you cannot make beer. You have little power over what's not yours. If you pick up one end of the stick, you also pick up the other. Better little than too little. If your only tool is a hammer, you will see every problem as a nail. Life is a ballet. You only dance it once. The child of a rat is a rat. Malagasy proverb, similar to the Japanese idiom. The child of a frog is a frog. Be a mountain or lean on one. Where you will sit when you are old shows where you stood in youth. He who is unable to dance says that the yard is stony. A small hill leads you to a larger one. No matter how beautiful and well-crafted a coffin might look, it will not make anyone wish for death. Where the needle passes, the thread passes. No matter how deep you hide your excrement in the water, they always float back to the surface. When the shepherd comes home in peace, the milk is sweet. You cannot name a child that is not born. The share of the antelope always goes to the leopard. Slander by the stream will be heard by the frogs. Even as the archer loves the arrow that flies, so too he loves the bow that remains constant in his hands. You cannot build a house for last year's summer. Even the lion, the king of the forest, protects himself against flies. When you show the moon to a child, it sees only your finger. It is crooked wood that shows the best sculptor. Birds sing not because they have answers, but because they have songs. A child is a child of everyone. An orphaned calf licks its own back. The river's water flows without waiting for the thirsty person. Do not follow a person who is running away. Anger and madness are brothers. Rowing downstream makes the crocodiles laugh. Going downstream, you can make friends, but in going upstream, it's impossible. One who bathes willingly with cold water doesn't feel the cold. A flea can trouble a lion more than a lion can trouble a flea. Alone one goes faster. Happiness is not acquired. It does not reside in appearances. Each one of us builds it at every moment of our life with our heart. The young bird does not crow until it hears the old ones. The food which is prepared has no master. Every mother is a river. A baby on its mother's back doesn't perceive the length of the journey. The friend found next to an enemy is like the enemy. Earth is the queen of beds. All women want a lot of sex with the man whom they love. Men want to have a lot of sex with a lot of different women. Wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it. Life gives you gifts in both good and bad. If you see a beautiful woman without a husband, it's because she must have a significant flaw or very bad conduct. Zebra's shadow has no stripes. He who burns down his house knows why ashes cost a fortune. If you are building a house and a nail breaks, do you stop building or do you change the nail? It's the belly that leads not to the back. Time spent in water doesn't turn a log into a crocodile.